It's just absolutely brilliant. So you're not looking like, I'm a plus or minus, I'm a 3, 2 or 1, what am I in? You've just got a computer screen that's telling you your number. It's just brilliant, like really, really good. Hello and welcome back to the Brompton Guy. Today I've decided to make a video on a subject that actually get covered quite a lot in my M-line release, and that is electronic shifting. I do believe a lot of people feel electronic shifting is a little bit of a gimmick on something like this. But for me, it's up there as a really top-end upgrade. And there's a couple of reasons why. He's the Brompton Guy! Firstly, we do have to cover what its main strength is, and that is adjusting on the fly. I can make any adjustments I want if something's slightly out of shifting from the head unit itself. So if I'm on a long ride, or I'm not as confident dealing with the rear, then I can get confident doing it on the front while I go. Real life tweaking. Whereas on your traditional 6-speed hub, you've got to use the barrel adjuster, which does the job, it works fine, and it's certainly been refined over the years, but it still lacks that exact dialing while riding, so anytime something is off, you have to tweak it. Whereas on here, direct feedback, which goes a long, long way. Another plus for it is almost the reliability. Sure, you do need to keep the battery charged, that's a fair point, but being folded away and taken around as much as it gets doesn't cause it any issues to go out of indexing. It's just an electronic cable. Whereas obviously the more and more you bend and shift and bend and shift your traditional cable, it does take fatigue now. I'm not saying that's going to happen over 6 months to a year, but it is still a little added benefit, the DI2. You also get the benefit of seeing how much you're having to re-index up there if something is catastrophically wrong. It's pretty hard for you to know if your cable's just stretched out, if your gears are wearing down, a lot from the feedback from a traditional setup. So for me, that's another little bonus. One of the other benefits I personally find with DI2 is the reliability of shifting during climbing. Too many times have I been caught out on the 3-speed hub in the wrong gear climbing and not able to shift reliably without stopping pedaling. So for instance, I'm climbing just now and I'll shift down 2 gears in my hub. Instant, done, no restrictions, no nothing. Whereas on the internal hub, it really doesn't want to shift down. You essentially have to stop, shift, and then go, which then makes that initial burst really hard to get back out. So that's one of my biggest issues with the normal gearing on the Brompton. Probably one of the bigger ones, which is DI2 related, is the fact in order to have DI2 on one of the Bromptons, you're either going to have to go to an 8-speed hub or an 11-speed hub. And for me, that is a fundamental, massive upgrade to the Brompton. I've rode a 6-speed C-line for a while now, and granted, I live in hillier areas. So I am shifting, I am climbing more than potentially the Brompton is made for. But if you do live in an area that isn't central London, or has the occasional hill, or you actually just want a bit more of a leisure ride, the DI2 really helps having that 11-speed variation. Now, not only DI2 hubs have that, but if you're getting DI2 on this, you have to have an 8-speed or an 11-speed hub. So that is the benefit in its own right. Another benefit to me personally, and maybe it's for me being in the size of 6'2", is the convenience of the shifters. I'm absolutely in love with the thumb shifting capability of it. It all makes intuitive sense to me, and instead of the 6-speed model where you're working both hands, you get the easiness of just slapping down and up. It's just absolutely brilliant. So you're not looking like, I'm a plus or minus, I'm a 3, 2 or 1, what am I in? You've just got a computer screen that's telling you your number. It's just brilliant, like really good. So I suppose one of the questions I have for you, is DI2 something you feel has a place in the Brompton line? Is it something that if it was an option you would go for it? Let me know in the comments section, because I'm honestly quite intrigued. Did I ever picture me getting DI2 in a Brompton? No, but when I seen the price difference between that and a normal hub, I'm like, it all makes sense to me to have it, considering my biggest problem with the Brompton standard is the fact it doesn't have the gear range, and I've always had issues with getting it in and out of gear on climbing. Now, if we look at the cons, because there's always cons to positives, some of them that are obvious that people say, well, what about this? Runs on battery. What if your battery's flat? You can't really shift, that's true. I have no comeback to that, apart from if you're really that worried. You can carry a spare battery. What does spare battery mean? More weight, extra responsibility. But out of all the time of having DI2 through multiple bikes, it's never happened to me, but I know people will say, what about the battery? The other side to the DI2 is it probably adds overall more weight. You're adding a cable, you're adding a battery, it comes with a big hub. So yeah, you do get a weight penalty, but it's so minor, I can't really say it's an issue for me, but it may be an issue for other people. And of course, probably the biggest downside is the cost for something that is a little bit of a novelty to people. And DI2 isn't cheap, although I would maintain actually Alfine DI2 is pretty well priced, but by the time you add up all those cables, computers, it is expensive. And some people just flat out don't like electronic shifting. They prefer knowing how mechanical works, because there is an element of you're unable to really control any fault finding on it. If a cable is down, what cable is it goes down? Is it junction box A? Is it junction box B? So if you're not too comfortable in the tech side of it, it's also another reason to not consider it. One of the other drawbacks that I've noticed, but I can't say I feel it when I ride, is that the rear hub always seems to have some form of resistance on it when it's freewheeling. Now, the C-line hub spins and spins and spins, which is great because I know I'm not losing anything to drag or rubbing. But on here, it's always just that little bit slow. Takes that bit of time. I did buy the hub new second hand, so I don't really know its history, and it is the first version of the DI2 hub. But anytime you feel resistance and that back wheel doesn't freely spin, you know you're probably putting a little bit of energy out. So in order to try and combat that, I've completely re-oiled it and see how it goes. It definitely feels better, but not perfect. I know there will also be people saying, but Dave, do you really need DI2 on the M line if it's made to climb mountains? I think some of the points I've specified have covered that, but the main reason for DI2 is that as much as this can do trails and mountains, it is also made for the road like today. So I'm really finding it beneficial for that part, but no, preferably if you only want one to go off-road, I would pick a roll-off hub purely for the reliability and the gearing range on it. That's hopefully later to come if I can partner with roll-off to get one, but that would be the hub of choice if you know that's what the bike's made to do. Now this for me, maybe used as a commuter, maybe used to do lots of miles, so having that adjustability of the DI2 really helps solidify that decision when I actually went to purchase it. Now, if I'm giving my honest opinion, should you spend your money to go out and put DI2 on your Brompton? Personally, no. Unless you're riding it all the time in difficult terrains, it just wouldn't be worth the money to upgrade whatsoever. Absolutely not. But the reliability it gives you and the level of control is super precise, and it's an absolute no-brainer from that end. But in order to do this upgrade, it is going to be expensive. But could you warrant having the extra gears for that extra cost? Maybe, but you could also get a non-DI2 hub. I do hope this information has been useful to you, and it's something that is near and dear to my heart and a question I get all the time, so I thought I'd take a little cycle today just to answer that question for you all. But yeah, let me know your thoughts about it in the comments. As always, thank you for supporting the channel, and we'll see you in the next one.